Hi, dear friend. You've found a quiet place to rest and dream. Tonight, we'll journey into the silence of a star that never ignited, a forgotten ember drifting in the dark. Settle in. Let your body sink softly into whatever holds you now. There's nowhere else you need to be, nothing else you need to do. The universe is vast, and yet this moment, this breath, this quiet heartbeat is enough. I am floating here, far from home, far from anything that resembles a home. The ship hums softly around me, a low and steady sound, like the breath of something ancient and patient. Outside the window, there is only darkness, and within that darkness a single point of light, faint, almost shy, a star that never became a star. They call it a brown dwarf, a failed star, a cosmic whisper that never found its voice. I have come here to study it, to measure its temperature, its mass, its composition, to record its existence in the great catalog of things the universe has made. But as I drift closer, as the numbers flicker across my screen and the data streams in, I find myself thinking less about science and more about something else, something quieter, something that feels almost like recognition. Because this object, this dim and lonely thing, is not quite a star. It exists in the space between. It was born from the same clouds of gas and dust that birth stars. It collapsed under its own gravity, just as stars do. It grew warm at its core, just as stars do. But it never crossed the threshold. It never gathered enough mass to ignite fusion in its heart. It never burned. And so it drifts, silent, cooling, an ember that never knew flame. I think about potential, about destiny, about all the things we imagine ourselves becoming and all the ways we fall short. I think about how the universe does not judge, how it simply allows things to be what they are. A star that shines, a star that does not, a life that soars, a life that stumbles, all of it equally real, equally valid, equally held within the endless dark. The brown dwarf glows faintly in the infrared. I cannot see it with my eyes, but my instruments show me. It is still warm, even after billions of years. Not the fierce heat of a star, but a gentler warmth, like the last traces of a fire that burned long ago, like the memory of light. I wonder if it knows. If somewhere in its core, in the slow churn of its hydrogen and helium, there is something like awareness, something like longing. I wonder if it feels the cold creeping in, degree by degree, century by century, or if it simply exists, content in its own quiet way, glowing softly. There's no sound here, no wind, no echo, just the hum of my and the steady rhythm of my. I close my eyes for a moment and I feel the weight of the sun. It is not empty. It is full. Full of time, full of space, full of all the things that never were and all the things that still might be. The brown dwarf is roughly the size of Jupiter, large by planetary standards, small by stellar ones. It is made mostly of hydrogen, like a star, but it lacks the mass to crush that hydrogen into helium, to ignite the nuclear fires that power the sun, and so it remains as it is, a sphere of gas, glowing faintly, spinning slowly through the void. I check my instruments. The surface temperature is around 1200 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt gold, hot enough to vaporize rock. But compared to the sun, which burns at millions of degrees, it is almost cool, almost gentle, a warmth without fury, a glow without blaze. I think about all the stars, the brilliant white giants, blazing with youth, the red supergiants, swollen and dying, the pulsars, spinning and screaming across the void. And I think about this brown dwarf, so much quieter than any of them, so much more forgotten, and yet, in its own way, no less remarkable, because it exists, because it glows, because it moves through space, carrying within it the memory of its birth, the slow arc of its cooling, the silent story of its being. I drift closer. The ship adjusts its orbit, matching velocity with the brown dwarf, spiraling inward in a slow and graceful dance. Outside the window, the faint glow grows slightly brighter, still too dim to see with the naked eye, but there, present, real. I wonder what it would be like to stand on its surface, if it had a surface to stand on, but it doesn't. It is a gas giant like Jupiter with no solid ground. If I descended into its atmosphere, I would fall forever, through layers of hydrogen and helium, through clouds of methane and ammonia, through storms that rage in silence, until the pressure crushed me, until the heat consumed me, until I became part of it, dissolved, integrated, returned to the elements from which I came. The thought is not frightening. It is almost peaceful. To become part of something larger, to surrender the boundaries of self. To drift, formless and free, through the depths of a star that never was. But I do not descend. I remain here in my ship, watching, recording, thinking. The brown dwarf is old. Not as old as the universe, but ancient by human standards. It formed perhaps 10 billion years ago, in the early days of the galaxy, when stars were being born by the millions, when the Milky Way was still young and wild. It formed from the same cloud of gas that birthed true stars, but it was smaller. It gathered less. And so it remained as it is. A footnote in the story of stellar evolution, yet it endures. While massive stars live fast and die young, exploding in supernovae after only a few million years, the brown dwarf simply continues, cooling, fading, persisting. It will outlive almost every star in the galaxy. In trillions of years, when the last of the great suns have burned out, when the universe has grown dark and cold, the brown dwarfs will still be here, glowing faintly, remembered by no one, witnessed by nothing, but here. There is something humbling in that, something that settles in my chest and makes me breathe a little deeper. To know that the universe does not measure worth by brightness, that the things which shine the longest are often the things which shine the dimmest, that there is a kind of grace in simply being, in persisting, in glowing softly, even when no one is watching. I think about my own life, about all the things I thought I would become, the dreams I carried as a child, bright and burning, full of certainty. And I think about where I am now, here, alone, drifting through the dark, studying a star that never ignited. And I wonder if this is failure, or if it is simply a different kind of becoming. The instruments hum softly. Data flows across the screens. I record the brown dwarf's mass, its radius, its luminosity. I measure the spectrum of its light, searching for clues about its composition, its age, its history. I do the work I came here to do, but my mind wanders, my thoughts drift, like dust in a sunbeam, slow and aimless. I think about Earth, about the people I left behind, about the life I might have lived if I had stayed, a quieter life, a simpler one, but I chose this instead. I chose the voice. I chose the silent. I chose to drift among the forgotten things, the dim and distant things, the things that no one else would come to see, and I do not regret it. Even now, even here, even in the loneliness that sometimes wraps around me like a cold and heavy cloak, I do not regret it, because there is beauty here, there is wonder, there is something sacred in bearing witness to the things that would otherwise go unwitnessed, in saying quietly into the dark, "You are not forgotten, you matter." The brown dwarf does not respond, of course. It does not know I am here. It does not care. It simply continues, as it has for billions of years, glowing softly, spinning slowly, drifting through the endless night. But I am here, and that means something, even if only to me. I adjust the ship's trajectory, moving into a closer orbit. The brown dwarf fills more of the window now, a vague and ghostly presence, visible only in infrared, only through the lens of my instruments. I wish I could see it with my own eyes. I wish I could witness its glow directly, unmediated by technology. But the universe is not built for human senses. We see only a narrow slice of light, hear only a narrow range of sound. So much of reality remains hidden from us unless we build tools to reveal it. And so I look through my instruments and I see what my eyes cannot. I see the heat radiating from the brown dwarf's surface. I see the patterns of convection in its atmosphere, the slow churn of gas rising and falling, driven by the remnants of warmth still trapped within. I see the faint glow of methane clouds, drifting like smoke across an invisible landscape. It is beautiful. In its own strange and alien way, it is beautiful. I think about how beauty does not require brightness, how some of the most profound things are the gentlest, the most easily overlooked. A brown dwarf glowing in the dark, a whisper carried on the wind, a small and simple kindness offered without expectation. These things do not announce themselves. They do not demand attention, but they are there. And if you slow down, if you quiet your mind, if you allow yourself to notice, they can fill you with something that feels almost like grace. The ship completes another orbit. Time passes. I do not know how long I have been here. Hours, perhaps, or days. Time moves differently in space, without the rising and setting of a sun, without the rhythm of day and night. It becomes fluid, elastic. I measure it in breaths, in heartbeats, in the slow accumulation of data streaming across my screens. I think about all the brown dwarfs in the galaxy. There are billions of them, perhaps more brown dwarfs than true stars. They outnumber the bright and shining things, and yet they remain invisible to us, hidden in the dark, forgotten. We do not build telescopes to study them. We do not write songs about them. We do not name them after heroes or gods. They are the wallflowers of the cosmos, the ones who stand at the edge of the party, quiet and unnoticed, while the bright stars dance and dazzle at the center. And yet, they are no less real, no less worthy, no less part of the great and intricate tapestry of the universe. I think about the word failed, a failed star, as if the brown dwarf set out to become something and did not succeed, as if it had a goal and fell short. But the universe does not work that way. The universe does not have intentions. It does not judge success or failure. It simply unfolds according to the laws of physics, according to the interplay of gravity and pressure and time. The brown dwarf is not a failure. It is simply what it is, a natural consequence of the conditions that formed it, a valid and authentic expression of cosmic possibility. And perhaps that is true of all of us. Perhaps we are not failures when we do not become what we imagined. Perhaps we are simply what we are, shaped by circumstances beyond our control, unfolding according to our own unique trajectory, valid, authentic, enough. The thought settles in me, warm and soft, like a blanket pulled around my shoulders. I breathe it in. I let it fill the empty spaces. I let it quiet the voices that sometimes whisper, late at night, that I am not enough, that I should have been more, that I should have burned brighter. I am here. I am alive. I am drifting through the cosmos, bearing witness to a star that never was. And that is enough. The brown dwarf spins, slowly. Once every few hours, its atmosphere completes a full rotation. I watch the patterns shift on my screens. I watch the heat signatures ebb and flow. I watch the silent and eternal dance of gas and gravity playing out across millions of kilometers, unfolding across billions of years. And I feel small, but not insignificant. Small but connected. A single note in an infinite symphony, a single thread in an endless tapestry. Small, yeah, but part of something so much larger than myself, part of the universe, part of the great and mysterious unfolding of existence. I think about the hydrogen in the brown dwarf. The same hydrogen that fills the sun, the same hydrogen. We are made of the same stuff, the brown dwarf and I, the stars and I, the galaxies and I. We are all children of the same ancient explosion, the same primordial fire that birthed the universe 14 billion years ago. We are all family, all kin, all bound together by the fundamental fact of our shared origin. And in that, there is comfort, to know that I am not separate, that even here, drifting in the void, I am part of something vast and interconnected and whole. The instruments chime softly. A data packet has been transmitted back to Earth, a record of my observations, a snapshot of this moment encoded in ones and zeros, sent across the light years to a place I can no longer see. It will take years for that data to arrive, years more before anyone analyzes, before anyone reads the report I will write, before anyone knows that I was here, that I saw this, that I thought these thoughts. But it does not matter. The knowing is enough. The seeing is enough. The being here is enough. I close my eyes and I listen to the hum of the ship. I feel the gentle tug of the brown dwarf's gravity, so much weaker than Earth's, so much gentler. I feel the weight of my body suspended in microgravity, floating freely in the cabin. I feel the slow and steady rhythm, and I let go. I let go of the need to be more than I am. I let go of the need to shine brighter, to burn hotter, to be seen. I let go of the fear that I am not enough. I let go of the idea that there is somewhere else I should be, something else I should be doing. I am here, I am now, I am exactly where I need to be. The brown dwarf glows, I glow. We are both here, we are both enough. Time passes, the orbit continues. The universe turns, slow and patient, carrying us all forward into the unknown. And I drift, I breathe, I witness, I am. The brown dwarf will continue to cool. Over billions of years, it will fade. Its glow will dim. Its warmth will dissipate. It will become a black dwarf, a cold and lifeless sphere, invisible against the dark. But that is far in the future, unimaginably far. For now, it glows. For now, it is. And so am I. I think about legacy, about what we leave behind. The brown dwarf will leave nothing behind. It will not explode in a supernova, seeding the galaxy with heavy elements. It will not collapse into a black hole, warping space-time around it. It will simply fade. And eventually, it will be forgotten, lost in the vastness of the universe, a memory with no one left to remember it. And yet, it will have existed. It will have been real. It will have glowed, however faintly, for billions upon billions of years. It will have moved through space, a silent witness to the unfolding of cosmic history. It will have been part of the universe, and that in itself is something. Perhaps legacy is not about what we leave behind. Perhaps it is simply about having been, about having participated, however quietly, in the great and ongoing story of existence, about having added our own small note to the symphony, even if no one hears, even if no one remembers, because the universe remembers in its own way, in the patterns of gravity and light, in the slow and inexorable flow of entropy, in the fundamental interconnectedness of all things. We are remembered not by name, not by deed, but by the fact of our existence, by the ripples we create, however small, in the fabric of space-time. And that is, I think about the silence, the way it wraps around everything here, thick and patient, like something alive. On Earth, silence is rare. There is always sound. Wind rustling through leaves, traffic humming in the distance, the creak of a house settling, the murmur of voices near or far. Even in the quietest moments, there is a heartbeat, a breath, the soft and constant reminder that you are not alone. But here, the silence is absolute. It is not the absence of sound. It is the presence of nothingness, a void so complete that it swallows everything. My ship makes noise, of course, the hum of the life support systems, the gentle whir of the air recyclers, the occasional beep of an instrument. But these sounds are islands, small and isolated. Beyond the hull, beyond the thin membrane that separates me from the vacuum, there is nothing. No air to carry vibrations, no medium for sound to travel through, just emptiness, infinite and indifferent. And yet I have learned to find comfort in it, let it hold me, rather than unsettle me. Because the silence is not hostile, is not cruel. It simply is. And there is a kind of peace in the knowledge that the universe does not need to speak to be profound. That meaning does not require noise. That some of the deepest truths are the ones that exist in the spaces between words. I float to the observation window again. I cannot seem to stay away for long. The brown dwarf pulls at me, not with gravity, though it does that too in its gentle and imperceptible way, but with something else, something harder to name, a kind of kinship perhaps, a recognition, as if we are both creatures of the in-between, neither one thing nor another, existing in the margins of definition. The instruments show me more than my eyes ever could. They translate the brown dwarf's invisible glow into colors I can understand. Reds and oranges and deep burgundies, false colors assign approximation. I know the reality is different. I know that if I could somehow see in infrared, the brown dwarf would appear as a dull and smoldering ember glowing faintly against the black. But I cannot see in infrared. I am limited by my biology, by the narrow band of electromagnetic radiation my eyes can detect. So I look through my instruments and I let them show me what is hidden. And I think about all the things we cannot see, all the realities that exist beyond the reach of our senses. There are entire spectrums of light we are blind to: radio waves, microwaves, X-rays, gamma rays. They pass through us constantly, carrying information we cannot access, painting pictures we cannot perceive. The universe is so much richer, so much stranger than the thin slice we experience directly. And we only know this because we have built tools to extend our senses, to reveal what is hidden, to make the invisible visible. I wonder what else we are missing. What other layers of reality exist just beyond our perception, waiting to be discovered, or perhaps never to be discovered? Perhaps there are things so fundamentally alien to our way of being that we could never build a tool to detect them. Perhaps the universe is full of mysteries that will remain mysteries forever, not because we are not clever enough, but because we are simply not equipped to understand. The thought does not frustrate me. It humbles me. It reminds me that for all our knowledge, for all our science and technology, we are still so small, still so limited, still so profoundly ignorant of the true nature of things, because the alternative is despair. The alternative is to rage against our limitations, to mourn all the things we will never know, to feel diminished by the vastness of our ignorance. But I do not want to live that way. I do not want to spend my life grieving for knowledge I cannot have. Instead, I want to marvel at what I do know, to celebrate the small and precious sliver of understanding I have been given, to be grateful for the tools that let me see even a fraction more than my ancestors. The brown dwarf has been here for billions of years. It will be here for billions more. And in all that time, I am the first to truly see it, the first to study it, the first to bear witness to its quiet existence. Perhaps I will be the last. Perhaps no one will ever come here again. Perhaps the data I collect will sit in an archive somewhere, unread and forgotten until it too dissolves into the entropy of time. But I am here now, and that means something. I adjust the spectrometer, refining the measurements. The brown dwarf's atmosphere is a complex mixture. Hydrogen, yes, but also helium, methane, ammonia, water vapor. Trace amounts of heavier elements, forged in the heart of some long-dead star, scattered across the galaxy by a supernova, gathered up by the collapsing cloud that would become this brown dwarf. Iron, silicon, carbon, the building blocks of worlds, the ingredients of life. Not that there is life here, not on the brown dwarf. It is too hot, too turbulent, too inhospitable. But the elements are here. The potential is here. And somewhere else on some distant world orbiting some distant star, those same elements might have come together in just the right way, under just the right conditions, to spark something extraordinary, something fragile and improbable: life. I think about the odds. Things had to go exactly right for any of us to exist. The universe had to form, stars had to be born and die, planets had to coalesce from the debris, oceans had to fill with water, lightning had to strike, or comets had to deliver organic molecules, or deep-sea vents had to provide energy and chemistry, and somewhere in that primordial soup, molecules had to start replicating. And then billions of years of evolution, billions of years of mutation and selection and extinction and adaptation, billions of years of chance and necessity, of randomness and inevitability, all converging to produce this moment, me, here, now. Thinking these thoughts, It is staggering, humbling, miraculous in a way, though not the kind of miracle that requires a miracle maker. Just the slow and patient unfolding of natural law, just the universe doing what the universe does, existing, evolving, becoming. And the brown dwarf is part of that story too. It may not have ignited, it may not have planets, it may never have witnessed the emergence of life, but it is made of the same stuff. It is part of the same cosmic narrative. It is a thread in the same vast and intricate tapestry. I check the time. Hours have passed, or perhaps only. It is hard to say. My sense of time has become elastic, stretched thin by the monotony and the wonder. I should eat, I should sleep, I should attend to the mundane necessities of being alive, but I linger. I cannot seem to pull myself away, because there is something about the brown dwarf that calls to me, something that resonates with a part of myself I do not fully understand. Perhaps it is the way it exists without validation, without recognition. It does not need to be seen to be real. It does not need to be admired to have value. It simply is, glowing softly in the dark, turning slowly through space, content in its own way, to be exactly what it is. I wish I could be more like that, more at ease with my own existence, less troubled by the need to be more, to do more, to matter more. I have spent so much of my life striving, reaching, trying to prove something I am not sure what or to whom. And here, in the presence of this dim and forgotten star, I feel the weight of that striving lift, just a little. I feel the possibility of letting go, of accepting, of being enough. The brown dwarf has no ambition, no anxiety, no fear of failure or irrelevance. It does not compare itself to other stars. It does not mourn what it is not. It exists without self-consciousness, without the burden of meaning-making that we humans carry. And there is a kind of freedom in that, a kind of grace. I know I cannot become like the brown dwarf. I am human. I am cursed and blessed with awareness, with the ability to reflect, to question, to imagine. I cannot simply exist. I must also make sense of my existence. I must construct narratives. I must find or create meaning. That is the human condition. That is the price and the gift of consciousness. But I can learn from the brown dwarf. I can let its quiet presence remind me that meaning is not the same as worth, that I do not need to justify my existence, that I am allowed to simply be, even if I never accomplish anything grand. I am forgotten, even if my life leaves no lasting mark on the universe, because the universe does not need me to leave a mark, or it does not judge. It simply holds me, as it holds all things, with the same patient and indifferent care. And that, strangely, is a comfort. I think about the brown dwarf's future, about the long and slow decline that awaits it. It will cool degree by degree, century by century. Its glow will fade, its warmth will dissipate. Eventually it will become so cold and so dim that it will be indistinguishable from the background of space. A black dwarf, a ghost, a memory of a star that never was. But that is so far in the future that it is almost meaningless. Trillions of years, more time than I can, more time than the current age of the universe. By the time the brown dwarf goes dark, the Milky Way will have collided with Andromeda. The sun will have died. The earth will be gone. Humanity, if it still exists, will be unrecognizable. Everything I know, everything I am, will have dissolved into the vastness of deep time. And yet, the brown dwarf will still be here, cooling, enduring, outlasting everything. There is something profoundly moving about that, something that makes me feel small and fleeting and utterly inconsequential, but also something that makes me feel connected, part of a continuity, a single moment in an infinite progression. Here and then, gone, but here nonetheless. I breathe. I let the air fill my lungs, and I feel the oxygen diffusing into my blood, feeding my cells, keeping me alive. It is a simple thing, a mechanical thing, but it is also a miracle. Every breath is a collaboration between my body and the universe, between the oxygen produced by long dead plants, the energy of the sun that powered their photosynthesis, the carbon in my tissues that was forged in the heart of an ancient star. I am not separate from the cosmos. I am a part of it, a temporary and localized expression of matter and energy, a pattern that will dissolve and reform into something else. And the brown dwarf is the same. It too is a pattern, a configuration of atoms and forces. It too will dissolve eventually into something else. Nothing is permanent. Everything is flux. And yet, in this moment, we are both here, both real, both glowing in our own way. I move away from the window, finally. I make myself a meal, something simple and bland, rehydrated from powder, nutritionally complete, but utterly joyless. I eat because I must, because my body demands fuel, but I do not take. My mind is still with the brown dwarf, still drifting in the dark, still contemplating the quiet beauty of things that never became. After I eat, I record my observations in the ship's log. I type out the data, the measurements, the coordinates. I describe the brown dwarf's appearance, its spectrum, its temperature. I note the anomalies, the unexpected variations in its infrared signature, the subtle asymmetries in its glow. I do the work, fulfill my purpose. I contribute to the great accumulation of human knowledge. But as I type, I realize that the most important thing I have learned here cannot be captured. It cannot be measured or quantified. It is not a fact about the brown dwarf. It is a feeling, a shift in perspective, a quiet and profound recognition that has settled in my chest and made a home there. I have learned that there is grace in incompleteness, that not everything needs to reach its potential to be valuable, that the universe is full of things that never became what they might have been, and that those things are no less beautiful, no less worthy for their failure to exist. I have learned that I am not a failure. I am simply what I am, a human, a traveler, a witness, a small and temporary pattern of matter and energy, drifting through the cosmos, doing my best to make sense of it all, and that is enough. I finish typing, and I save the log, and then I sit in silence, floating in the cabin, feeling the gentle hum of the ship around me, feeling the faint pull of the brown dwarf's gravity, feeling the slow and steady rhythm of my own existence. And I am grateful for this moment, for this experience, for the privilege of being here, of seeing this, of feeling this. I am grateful to the brown dwarf for existing, for glowing, for reminding me of what matters and what does not. I am grateful to the universe for making me, for holding me, for letting me be part of this vast and mysterious unfolding. I am grateful, and I am at peace. The ship drifts, the brown dwarf glows, and I rest. Not in sleep, not yet, but in a deeper kind of stillness. A stillness of the mind, a quieting of the endless chatter, the endless striving, the endless need to be more than I am. I rest in the knowing that I am enough, that I have always been enough, that I will always be enough, and the universe holds me as it holds all things, with infinite patience and infinite care. The brown dwarf spins beneath me, silent and eternal, and I find myself thinking about time. Not the time measured by clocks or calendars, not the seconds ticking away on my instruments, but deep time, cosmic time, the kind of time that makes human lifetimes feel like the blink of an eye. This brown dwarf has existed for 10 billion years. 10 billion. I try to wrap my mind around that number, but it slips away from me, too vast to grasp. 10 billion years ago, the universe was younger. The Milky Way was still forming, still gathering itself from clouds of gas and dust. There were fewer heavy elements then, fewer planets, perhaps no life anywhere, not yet, not in this corner of the cosmos. And through all of that, through the birth and death of countless stars, through the formation of solar systems and the emergence of galaxies, through everything that has happened in the universe since then, the brown dwarf has been here, glowing, cooling, turning, witnessing it all in its own silent way. I will live perhaps 80 years, if I am lucky, maybe 100. A fragment of the brown dwarf's lifespan. I am a mayfly here for an instant, and then gone. And yet, in this instant, I am aware, I am conscious, I am thinking about the brown dwarf, and in some small way, that matters, because consciousness is rare, or as we know, it is vanishingly rare. The universe is mostly empty space and lifeless matter. Stars that burn without knowing they burn, planets that orbit without knowing they orbit, galaxies that collide without knowing they collide. But here I am, a tiny cluster of atoms that has somehow organized itself in such a way that it can know, that it can wonder, that it can look out at the brown dwarf and feel something that might be called awe or kinship or love. It is improbable, absurdly, impossibly improbable, and yet here I am. And that improbability is what makes this moment precious, not despite its brevity, but because of it, because I will not be here forever, because this moment will pass and I will pass, and eventually even the memory of this moment. But right now, in this sliver of time carved out of eternity, I am here. I am aware. I am bearing witness. And perhaps that is enough. Perhaps that is all any of us can do. Exist for our brief moment. Notice what is around us. Feel what we feel. And then let go, gracefully, when our time is done. The brown dwarf will not remember me. The universe will not remember me. But I will have been here. I will have seen. I will have mattered, at least to myself. And maybe that is the only kind of mattering that truly exists. Not the grand gestures, not the lasting legacies, just the quiet, private experience of being alive, of being present, of participating, however briefly, in the great unfolding. I think about all the people on earth, all the lives being lived right now as I float here in the dark. People waking up, people falling asleep, people laughing and crying and working and resting, people falling in love, people saying goodbye, people being born, people dying, all of it happening simultaneously, all of it real, all of it mattering to someone. And I am connected to all, not just by the radio signals that link my ship to mission control, not just by the thin thread of communication that ties me to home, but by something deeper, by the fact that we are all made of the same stuff, all children of the same cosmic birth, all temporary arrangements of stardust briefly conscious, briefly alive. The atoms in my body were forged in the cores of ancient stars. The iron in my blood, the calcium in my bones, the carbon in my cells, all of it came from stars that lived and died billions of years ago. Stars that exploded in supernova, scattering their elements across the galaxy. Stars that gave their lives so that planets could form, so that life could emerge, so that I could exist. I am stardust. Literally, we all are. The poet was not being metaphorical. It is a simple fact of cosmology. We are the universe become conscious of itself. We are the cosmos looking back at itself with wonder. And so is the brown dwarf in a way. It too is made of star stuff. It too is a child of the same ancient explosions. We are kin, distant cousins perhaps, but family nonetheless. I press my hand against the window, as if I could reach through the glass and the vacuum and touch the brown dwarf, as if I could close the distance between us. But of course I cannot. The brown dwarf is millions of kilometers away. It would take hours to reach it, even at the ship's maximum speed, and even if I could reach it, there would be nothing to touch, no solid surface. Just gas and heat and pressure, increasing with depth until it would crush me, annihilate me, return me to the elements from which I came. But the gesture feels right anyway. The reaching out, the acknowledgement, the quiet declaration, I see you. You are not alone. Neither am I. I wonder if this is what prayer feels like. Not the kind with words, not the kind directed at a deity, but a simpler kind. A reaching out into the vastness, a connection made not through language, but through prayer, through the simple act of being here, of noticing, of caring. I am not religious. I do not believe in gods or heavens or divine plans, but I believe in this, in the sacredness of attention, in the holiness of bearing witness, in the profound act of saying to the universe and to myself, this matters, you matter, I matter. We are here, and that is enough. The brown dwarf glows on, indifferent to my thoughts, indifferent to my presence. But I am not looking for acknowledgement. I am not looking for response. I am simply offering my attention, my awareness, my gratitude for the privilege of seeing this, of being here, of existing in the same universe as this quiet and forgotten star. And in that offering I find something like peace, something like purpose, not a grand purpose, not a cosmic destiny, just the simple purpose of being awake, of noticing, of caring about the things that would otherwise go unnoticed and uncared for. The universe is so vast, so full of wonders, and most of them will never be seen. Most of them will unfold in the dark, witnessed by no one, appreciated by nothing. Black holes will swallow stars in distant galaxies. Nebulae will birth new suns in regions of space no human will ever reach. Planets will form and die without ever knowing life. All of it real, all of it happening, all of it, in some sense, alone. But not this brown, not today. Today it has a witness. Today it matters to someone. Today I am here, and tomorrow I will move on. I will set course for the next destination, the next object of study, the next wonder waiting in the dark. And the brown dwarf will remain. It will continue to glow. It will continue to cool. It will continue to exist, whether anyone sees it or not. But for this moment, we are together. Two objects adrift in the cosmos. Two expressions of the universe's endless creativity. Two threads in the infinite tapestry. And that is enough. That is more than enough. That is everything. The brown dwarf is still there, glowing faintly on my screens, unchanged, eternal, patient. A small and quiet smile witnessed by no one but myself. And I say, into the silence, for existing, for being here, for reminding me that brightness is not the only kind of beauty, that silence is not the same as emptiness, that a star does not need to burn to matter. The brown dwarf does not respond, but I feel in some deep and wordless way that it hears me, that on some level beyond language, beyond thought, we are communicating. Two beings adrift in the cosmos, acknowledging each other, bearing witness to each other, saying quietly, I see you. The ship completes another orbit. My watch beeps softly, reminding me that it is time to eat, time to rest, time to attend to the mundane necessities of being alive. But I linger for a moment long. I watch the brown dwarf. I breathe, I exist. And then, slowly, gently, I turn away. I leave the observation window, and I move deeper into the ship. I prepare a meal. I eat, I record my thoughts in the ship's log. I perform the small and necessary rituals that keep me grounded, that remind me I am human, that tether me to the life I carry with me, even here, even now. But part of me remains at the window. Part of me remains with the brown. Part of me will always be there, drifting in the dark, bearing witness to the quiet glow of a star that never was. Because that is what we do. We witness, we remember, we hold space for the things that would otherwise be forgotten. And in doing so, we make them matter. We make them real. We give them meaning. Not because the universe needs us to, but because we need to. Because meaning is not something we find. It is something we create, something we offer, something we give freely and without expectation to the world around. I lie down in my bunk. The lights dim automatically. The ship's systems hum quietly, maintaining orbit, monitoring the brown dwarf, recording data. I close my eyes. I breathe. I let the silence settle around me like a soft and familiar blanket. And I think about tomorrow, about the next observation, the next measurement, the next moment of quiet wonder, drifting in the dark. I think about all the brown dwarfs I might, all the forgotten things I might, all the quiet glows I might yet know, and I feel something like gratitude, not for anything specific, just for being here, for being alive, for having the privilege of drifting through the cosmos, seeing things that few others will see, thinking thoughts that few others will think. I do not know what the future holds. I do not know if I will return to Earth. I do not know if my work will matter to anyone but myself. But I know that I am here. I know that I am part of something vast and beautiful and mysterious, and I know that I am enough. The brown dwarf glows. I glow. We are both stars in our own way, both embers, both whispers in the dark, both valid, both real, both enough. And as I drift towards sleep, grow hazy, and my breathing slow, I feel the gentle pull of the brown dwarf's gravity, so faint, like a hand reaching across the void, holding me, keeping me safe. I am not alone. I have never been alone. I am held by the universe, by gravity, by the fundamental forces that bind all things together, by the invisible threads that connect me to the stars, to the brown dwarfs, to the distant galaxies, to the very fabric of space-time itself. I am held. I am safe. I am home. And in that knowledge, I let sleep come. I let my consciousness dissolve, gently and without resistance, into the soft and the brown dwarf continues to glow. The ship continues to orbit. The universe continues to turn, and I rest. I rest in the knowing that I am part of it all, that I am woven into the great and intricate tapestry of existence, that I am a thread, however small, in the infinite and unfolding story of the cosmos. I rest in the knowing that I do not need to be more than I am, that I do not need to burn brighter, that I do not need to be seen, that I am enough exactly as I am. I rest in the knowing that the brown dwarf and I are both born from the same cosmic dust, both glowing in our own way, both valid, both real, both held by the universe. I rest in the knowing that there is nowhere else, nothing else I need. I am here. I am exactly where I need to be. The brown dwarf glows. I glow. We are both stars that never were, and we are both perfect. Sleep comes, soft, gentle, inevitable, like the cooling of a brown dwarf, like the fading of light, like the quiet surrender to the vast and patient dark. And I let it come. I welcome it. I sink into it, grateful and at peace, because I am held, I am safe, I am home, and the universe cradles me as it cradles all things, with infinite patience and infinite care. Good night, dear friend. Good night, brown dwarf. Good night, stars. Good night, cosmos. Good night. Rest now. You are safe. You are held. Sleep is near. Let your thoughts drift like dust through the dark. Let your breath slow like the cooling of a star. Let your body sink, soft and heavy, into the quiet embrace of the night. You are enough. You have always been enough. You will always be. Rest now. Dream. Be. The universe holds you. The silence surrounds you. The dark is not empty. It is full of possibility. Full of peace, full of love. Rest now. Good night.